Listen, you don't develop a reputation of being the Rob Lowe of guitar YouTube without knowing your way around a few triads. So today we're talking about triads, maybe shedding some light on what can be a very mysterious topic to some people, and also maybe, even if you already do have a handle on it, just kind of seeing it in a new way. We're doing all the main chords in a key, and we're going to start in the official key of 2025, the key of E major, okay? So today's video is sponsored by Sweetwater and Martin Guitars. I'm rocking a D18. I'll tell you a little bit more about these as we're going along, but this is like my favorite guitar I ever made. This is the standard by which all acoustic guitars should be measured. It is the Martin D18. I'll have an affiliate link in the description if you guys are interested. Check it out. But a triad is basically a 3-note chord built using the diatonic scale if you look it up, something like that. Really, it kind of, I think the meaning that it has taken on over the years is just a major or minor chord in a key, okay? So in any key, there are 3 major chords. They're the 1st, 4th, and 5th degrees of a key. In the key of E major, that would be E, F sharp, G sharp, A, and B. So E major, A major, and B major, okay? So let's talk about how I'm playing it, because I think this is, even though in the key of E we can use the open strings to help us out and get that nice full sound, seeing them in relation to each other is really, really important, okay? So again, open E, 2A, 2D, 1G, open B, and open E. That gives us a major triad, all right? Now, if you just take where your middle finger is and just bust it down a string, and then if you want to bar it, you get A major, okay? Now, traditionally, A major is played open A, 2D, 2G, 2B, and open E. Even if you want to get that low E string in there, that's fine. That's a big full A major, all right? Now, the thing about a triad, a 3-note chord, you only need 3 of those 5 notes to ring out. So when I play it like this, I'm not actually getting open strings helping me out. I'm just getting the notes that make up an A major chord, an A, a C sharp, and an E. Okay? So if I don't have that open A string, it's actually, the root note is not the lowest note. That would be an inversion. But whatever, I think the trick is to know wherever your 1 chord is. If you just go straight down a string like that, break it down, or really where your ring finger already is in that chord, that's gonna be how to find the 4 chord in any key. And then you just go 2 frets higher, because the distance between the 4th and 5th notes in a key, again, whole, half, whole, half, is just a whole step, all right? If all the music theory is confusing you already, check out the Patreon, because I break that down in much greater, slower detail. But the distance between the 4 chord and the 5 chord is just a whole step. So the distance between the 4 major chord and the 5 major chord is just 2 frets higher, right? So 1, 4, 5. E, A, B, right? Which again, a lot of times playing a B major and the way you look it up is much more difficult. It's just an A major chord, 2 frets higher. And the cool thing is in E major, if you get the open strings with it, it's not the end of the world, right? Those are still notes in the key. So even though technically it's not a triad anymore because we're adding a note that is not in that chord, it is still a note in the key, so it doesn't sound bad, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Now, maybe you already know all that, but what we're gonna do next is we're gonna add the minor chords, and we're gonna do it in a way that is a little musical. We're gonna put like a rhythm on it. Basically, it's gonna sound like this. And then we're gonna do it in a different spot on the neck to really solidify how everything sounds, okay? We'll get there later. And let's just get right into it. So the 2 and 3 chords in this key are gonna be F sharp minor and G sharp minor. Now here's the thing. It's like, all right, those were triads, like, F sharp minor, like 2, 4, 4, 2, 2, 2. It's like, it's killing me, that bar chord right there. We're gonna do it the cheater way. We're gonna play F sharp minor 7. Now, some people might already be on their keyboards. Oh, that's an F sharp minor 7. That's not a triad, that's a 4-note chord. Guess what? We're just playing 3 notes of it and we're implying it. Still not technically a triad by the major minor definition of it because the implied fifth is like, get out of here. For all intents and purposes for playing guitar, this is a replacement of our F sharp major. Here's F sharp major, or F sharp minor. F sharp minor 7, much easier to play. The vibe is there, guys. We're just trying to light a vibe today, you know? Just like Rob Lowe does as Sam in the West Wing. I don't know where the Rob Lowe thing came from. That's whatever. Anyway, here's the next chords, right? F sharp, minor 7, which is just the 2nd fret of the low E string. I'm skipping the A string. Basically, I'm not holding it down, but my middle finger is kind of throttling it so I can't hear it. And then my ring finger and pinky are getting the D and G strings on the same fret, right? So it's still a 3-note chord. And then, remember, whole half is how we kind of go through the scale. A whole step from there, it's the same shape. So F sharp minor, G sharp minor, 2 chord, 3 chord. And now just like with that E to that A, we just like take a shape and then we break it down, a string. We're gonna do the same thing with this and the other minor chord in the key, all right? Which is C sharp minor, also known as the relative minor in the key of E major, all right? Now again, you may have seen this as a bar chord. This is not a bar chord, okay? I'm only playing the middle 4 strings. So 4A, 6D, 6G, and then 5B. Even if you want to simplify this, you can make this like an A minor shape just all the way up here, right? I like to actually add the root note. For this, it gives you a fuller sound. I generally do like it when the root note is the lowest note on an acoustic guitar because you can kind of get that root note chord type vibe for playing songs, which is something that, you know, I use in my own playing a lot. But seeing them in relation as just minor chords, I think is very important because no matter where you are in any key, as we'll demonstrate when we move the key around later in this lesson, I can make a connection. It's like, all right, whatever key I'm in, if this is a 2 chord, I know I can just go a whole step to get the other minor chord, and then I can just go down a string, right? From 4, skip 4, 4, to A string 4, 6, 6, 5. So that move right there, which is, you know, kind of tricky, but just drill it and then go after it. So now that we have all 6 chords, right? And I'm not playing them in order. We're going just major chords, then minor chords. Okay? Let's put a strumming pattern on it so we can make this a musical exercise to really kind of solidify everything we've talked about so far, right? I'm gonna do it in a waltz because that's the time students play everything in. It's gonna sound like this. So basically we have 1 bar of E, a bar of A, 2 bars of B, and that's gonna give us time to get to a bar of F sharp minor, a bar of G sharp minor, 2 bars of C sharp minor. So if I were to count it, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, and 6, and 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6. And then however slow you want to make it to kind of get it in time. It should be something that isn't so difficult, especially going from that 1, 4, 5. The nice thing about playing the 5 chord like this without your pointer finger is it's a very natural progression to go from that 5 chord to the 2 chord like that. See, it's the same shape really, but on my way to the 2nd fret, I'm just extending my middle finger to skip the A string and then just go down, right? So B, F sharp minor, 7, right? And then now we just keep this shape intact. And the cool thing about that is my ring finger and my pinky have stayed together pretty much the entire time since going to that A major chord. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. Let's do another octave of the entire thing using some similar shapes that you probably already know that still get the vibe of what we're doing here. Okay? So, guys, it sounds so good on this Martin D18. The cool thing about the D18 is they actually just refreshed the lineup of the standard series, so they have some higher end features that are like pretty valuable without a lot of extra money. I'll link you to that. I'm actually going to Nashville later this week to kind of check out the Martin showroom, and I'll probably get my hands on some of the newer, refreshed standard series models. But again, I really think this is the standard by which to measure any acoustic guitar. It's made in the Nazareth factory. Everything about this guitar is fantastic. The only guitar that I might get aside from this would be the Sean Daniels signature Martin, which is much less expensive. In fact, this is like, if you have one of each of these, you'll never need another guitar because you've got the glory and the majesty of the American-made Martin Dreadnought, and then you have the portability, the charm and the charisma of the Sean Daniels signature Rob Lowe Martin guitar, which again, just looks great, but it's a double O body, so it's like much smaller. And this one is actually kind of awesome just to have, just kind of chilling around, right? So this one also has a built-in tuner. So the fact this has a built-in tuner that you can kind of like low-key just tune your guitar, and the tuner is just on the inside here. So when you're playing, it doesn't even look like you're tuning the guitar because you can just kind of, it's like hidden in the sound hole here. So you can pretend that you're tuning by ear while just keeping an eye on here, and no one will know that you don't know how to tune by ear, even though you're a professional guitar YouTuber that's been playing guitar your entire life. So I'll link both of these in the description because there's a Martin guitar for everybody out there. Anyways, thank you to Martin and Spielwater for sponsoring the video. Let's talk about the next octave, and let's get the music theory purists even more upset by turning the next version of an E major into an E major 7. All right? This is probably my favorite guitar chord of all time, is an E major 7 played like this, all right? So now I've got an open E, I've got 7 on the A string, which is an octave E, and then now I've got the major 3rd here, 6th fret on the D string, and then I have the major 7 as the 8th fret on the G string, okay? So again, a major 7 chord is a 4-note chord. We're talking about triads. So we're only gonna play 3 notes, 3 of the 4 notes. We're gonna imply the 5th in this, and just really, really upset those music theory purists who say that this voicing is not actually a triad. Guess what? It sounds pretty good to me, right? So we're gonna go 1, 4, 5. This is another way to get around that same thing, okay? So in this version, we're gonna have the 1 chord is E major, 7, and then we're gonna kind of see how this is down a string from where we're already at, right here, A major. This is an F-shaped A major chord, I guess. 7, D, 6, G, 5, B. Again, traditional triad as the 4 chord, and then you can always just go a step higher to get to the 5 chord for B. So E, notice how that sounds different from E, A, B. Okay? So, again, depending on what key you're in, we're going to do a closed voice key after I do the same thing with the minor chords. But maybe you like the sound of one over the other. I think difficulty-wise, they're about the same. Now, the cool thing about this is this lines up. Now, my ring finger for this B major chord is on the 9th fret of the D string. This lines up with the fret that we want to use to now get to the C sharp minor, the relative minor, which before we played like this, right? So now we're using the first half of the lesson's shape to play the 6th chord, and then we're gonna go down a string and use what was the same shape we used for the C sharp minor to now get the F sharp minor and the G sharp minor. So now we've got 6, the 6th chord, the 2 chord, and the 3 chord, but we're kind of making another connection on the fretboard to get those. So 1, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, instead of 1, 4, 5, 2, 3, 6. Okay, so between that, we really have the entire fretboard covered. Now you can use this to solo if you just want to maybe find single notes, like in these. I think this triad is like a great, because you can kind of like inflect it, like with like little picky hammer-ons and stuff, you know. So they have a lot of utility and merit, aside from just playing chords. But let's do that whole strummed 3/4 exercise with both groups of chords, okay? So the 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 2, 3, 6. Then let's go higher. 1, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3. And it'll always resolve on E major, okay? So let's do a closed voicing of the guitar to show how this D13 doesn't even need open strings to make any of this sound glorious and majestic. Let's do it in G sharp or A flat major. Nobody ever plays in this key because nobody knows how to play in this key, all right? Let's do that first chord shape, right? Which is just an E major shape. But now, again, depending on how you want to look at this, I always kind of think of the root note as being on the E string, G sharp be the 4th fret. Even if I'm not playing that, my mind's eye is still seeing this, and then I can make the chord from here. So it's really just 6, 6, 5 on the A, D, and G strings, right? Now what we did from the first one, remember, you just break it down a string. So I go from 6, 6, 5 to D string 6, 6, 6, and then the 4 chord is a step higher from there. So 1, and now I can still have a little play in my picking, because again, if you use open strings here, that's a mess. That's the sound of madness. That's like current Rob Lowe hosting a game show or whatever it is he's doing now nowadays. A lot of hair dye in that one. But what I kind of do here is, if you notice, I've got my thumb kind of over, just holding the E string from not ringing out. And then underneath the chord, again, so my pointer finger is playing the highest string, I'll kind of just lay it down a little bit to butt up against that B string so I don't really hear it. You can kind of hear it ringing out, but in the context of the chord, that won't be able to be audible, right? So there's the 1 chord, break it down, 4 to 5, and then remember, we can kind of go from where that 1 chord was, and then now we just go 2, 3, 6. Okay, so now the 2 chord will be in line with the 6th fret, a step higher than that. The 8th fret is the 3 chord. Same thing, right? So now that we've kind of created a system to find any one chord from any other chord, we can kind of do that same strumming pattern. And it can be a key that you've never even played before, and now it sounds pretty good, right? So again, this is just a way to kind of maybe solidify how you think of triads, or even just chord building in general. It doesn't even have to be triads. I just like putting the word triad in a YouTube title because people seem to click on that because they're confused by it. So thank you for watching. Thank you to Sweetwater for sponsoring the video, and Martin for building a Sean Daniels signature guitar, which is also a Sweetwater exclusive, by the way, which is kind of the honor of a lifetime, and having to go toe-to-toe with the greatest dollar for dollar high-end acoustic guitar, the Martin D18 of all time. Like I said, I'll be in Nashville checking out some of the new standard series. Let me know what questions you guys have. I'll be happy to answer them. And if you guys want kind of more in-depth instruction on how to learn a bunch of songs, check out the Patreon, which I will also link in the description. Thanks for watching.